she's like, you're actually summer. And they're actually this is you season.
And do they do it too, or you do it? What happens? Well, you'll tell me that.
Everyone is going to say, but if they want to see what I do.
Yeah. That's cool.
Go pressure.
Awesome.
Everything that is pressure.
Okay.
Teacher.
Sorry, I don't know. And then.
I deal with. I have a shower curtain that's a little bit on the edges, I throw it in hot water, then I dish in my
But
dryer.
that's different than mold.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's permeating my.
Yeah, but that's your class. Hey.
Bless you.
Ah, so when it gets into story.
Okay, friends, Shabbat Shalom, early. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, but it's not gonna, they should have to go across the ocean. If you're able to ship it across the ocean where, right?
Okay, we're here, we're centering, we're present, we're happy.
Breathing.
All is, thank God, we're breathing, we're here, these are little things that are great miracles. So today we are going to venture into the story of Jacob and Esau. It's a great story, it's a complex story, it's a dysfunctional story. It's a dramatic story. And what I want to do is, I first want to invite you to sort of, when you first think of the story, when I say Jacob and Esau, what's the first, like, what are your first thoughts? Like, what are the first things that come to your mind that like sort of settle with you, that you carry with you when I say Jacob and Esau? And then we'll go from there, but I don't want to say anything else. I just want us to start there. So when I say Jacob and Esau, what comes to your mind?
They were brothers.
Okay, thank you, brothers, Marilyn. What? Deception, okay, deception.
Bamboozled.
Ooh, bamboozle, that's a good word. Yeah, right by the front.
Rivalry.
Rivalry, okay, great. What else?
Remind me of my boys.
They remind you of your boys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jealousy.
Sorry.
Jealousy, yeah, jealousy. Okay. What?
Theft.
Theft, okay.
Manipulation.
Manipulation, okay. When I say Isaac and Rebecca, what comes to your mind?
Oh.
Oh my God, that was like very well timed. Aw.
Love at first sight.
Love at first sight, okay. Right? What? True love, okay. What else? Challenges, okay, good.
Disney magic kind of love.
Disney magic kind of love, okay. Okay,
Favoritism.
favoritism, great.
He was true to his belief.
Okay, true to his belief, okay. All right. Okay, good, that's good. So I want you to hold all those things, and what we're gonna do today is, like we always do, we're gonna read closely. I want you to look beyond the shot, look beyond the surface level of the text. What is the text saying? What is the text not saying? That's what I'm way more interested in today. What is it not saying? What are our preconceived biases? What are the preconceived biases that we bring to the text? It's not a negative, it's just biases are not always negative. It's just the preconceived ideas and notions and concepts that we bring to the text, okay? So what are those things? What are coming up for you as you read the text? All right, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna read the text. Last week we studied from the draft of the new Torah commentary, and someone said something about a women's commentary, like, do we have that? Yes, we do. So we're gonna study it from that lens today. All right, so we're gonna study from the Torah, a woman's commentary. That's the printout that you have in front of you. For my friends online, I'm gonna share it with you. All right, so that's what we're gonna be reading today. We're gonna read the text line by line from that, and then we will, as you have in front of you, the commentary. Whatever you see that stands out for you, grab one of those packets. Yeah, perfect. that's what I want you to bring, okay? Whatever we stop and when we stop, what commentary stands out for you? Hey, good morning. We're reading from Parsha Toldo. Yeah, Dina has, she's good. You need one?
I did, he said.
No, we can share.
There's another one.
You know what? I didn't even see that. I'm so sorry.
You don't have to apologize. It's all good.
I
It's
didn't.
all good. Don't you worry. Okay, so we are starting Parsha Toldot. Let's do our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'azot b'divrei Torah. Okay, we start with Parsha Toldot. Toldot means what? Good. Generations. The Eila Toldot. These are the generations of Isaac. Let me share with my friends here.
Sure.
Okay, and
Did anyone think it was the men who were having trouble conceiving? I mean, look, Isaac had the same problem as his father. So like Rebecca wasn't a sister.
You know?
consider the sword.
I'm just asking.
Okay, here we go. This is from the women's commentary for those of you online. Okay, we're gonna start with the very top. Ve'ela toldot Yitzchak ben Avraham. This is the line of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took as his wife Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel the Aramean of Padaan Aram, the sister of Lavan the Aramean. Isaac pleaded with Adonai on behalf of his wife, for she was childless. And Adonai acceded to his entreaty, so his wife Rebekah became pregnant. I'm gonna stop there. What do we see? What stands out for you? What language is interesting to you? And or which of the commentaries down below on the bottom of the page stand out for you that you want to look at? Yeah.
Isaac and his dad had the same problem. I'm telling you, this was not on the woman's side of the family.
Okay, so all right, so for you, this is when you that childless is not just
I don't think it was a problem of the women. I think it was a problem of the men, because Rebecca and Sarah were not related,
okay,
but Isaac and Abraham obviously were.
okay. All right, great. So for Spencer, he's focused on the issue of infertility, and that infertility from his perspective is not just the challenge of the wife, that this is also a challenge of the husband. Okay, thank you. What else? Thank you. So this is something interesting here in the text, right? The language is interesting. Verse 21. And Isaac pleaded with Adonai. Okay. Ve'atar Yitzchak la'Adonai. And he pleaded with Adonai, how? On behalf of his wife. Okay, interesting. Okay, interesting, because I also want you to think about that in just a few moments. There's something interesting again is going to happen, but this is a moment that Isaac, they're experiencing infertility, they are childless. The assumption is they've tried for some time, she is barren, or he has his own health issue. Okay, Isaac pleads to Adonai on behalf of his wife. What is that? What are we, let's identify and sort of break down for a second the character of Isaac so far. What do we know about him? What do we know about Isaac? Yeah.
He was traumatized. A couple chapters ago.
Yeah, just a couple of chapters ago, he had a pretty traumatic experience with his father on the mountain. Okay, and we always talk about what is that trauma, what has that trauma done to him, right? How does it manifest within him? Okay.
And you kind of have to wonder what he was like before the trauma that he went along with it.
Right.
So I don't know whether he's a simple man or he was just so it's hard to determine.
Right, but there's so much there, right? Like, but there's something that he carries with him. Which I think is also interesting is how he's relating to his wife here too. This is also fascinating because we don't always have such rich insight into the characters in the Torah, especially the interrelationship between husband and wife, like there's a very tender moment. Right? Like you can imagine if we're reading in between the lines, that they've had really emotional conversations with one another. That they too have experienced something very personal, right? And heartbreak, right? You can imagine, right? Month after month, and they still are not pregnant. There is this vulnerability, there's this emotional journey, roller coaster that they've been on. And now Isaac is saying, you know what? I'm going to God on this one. I'm going to God on this, on behalf of his wife, okay? Did you?
Do you think, I think maybe like the 40 years old component is like at the stage of life, a little bit more maturity, a little more
Mm.
capability of being able to say, I need to speak on behalf of my wife.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so that's very interesting. So the idea that maybe now at this point in the journey for him, he's saying, we need help. Right, like, there's something more here, right, like, I'm gonna pour I feel comfortable now that I can share this vulnerability, this prayer, this pleading.
Can I,
But,
sorry,
that's okay, do you wanna respond to that?
I just wanna build on it, that he didn't go to God for himself,
Right,
but he went to God for his wife. That
yeah,
shows something.
And I feel like 40, I think in all of our journey, like, I don't know, for, you know, 40 is a pivotal moment, like you're no longer 30 something.
Yeah.
Where you can kind of be like a kid.
right,
You know, like a young family, or like a, I don't know, I just think the 40, I think every block of time, obviously we hope to gain more wisdom and insight on ourselves. And they specifically say he was 40 at this point.
yeah. So what's interesting, when are you able to study the Kabbalah, the Zohar? 40,
Yeah, that's
right, but you can handle that level of intimate.
But 40
Listen,
being a pivotal moment in the Torah is different than what we consider the age of 40, because how old was Isaac when he died?
okay, right.
So 40 in those days was not as old as what we see 40 as, but 40 is a pivotal moment.
Right, but it's also like, even if it's not necessarily chronological, like it's mentioned as a sort of a threshold moment, right? As a moment of time in his life. Okay, beautiful.
For the rescued Isaac from going following his father's footstep, and for his father Abraham footstep, by not going outside to get a second son. Rather, for the time he was persecuted by women, he got a twin. The twin is synonymous to Isaac and Ishmael. The twin, Jacob and Esau.
Wait, we haven't gotten there yet, but yes, I hear what you're saying in the first part, which is, there's a distinction here between
That's
Isaac
what-
not following the path of
I
Abraham.
think that's the waiting period and frustration he felt, and God rescued him from that scenario.
Yes,
That's actually, yeah.
very good, nice, Spencer.
I think Isaac probably knew that his mother really, really wanted a child when, you know, she and Abraham were trying. And he probably felt that he wanted a child, but I'm sure he felt that grief for his wife who also wanted one, coming from a perspective of how much his mother wanted a child, how blessed she felt having him.
Okay, so interesting, so there's this generational thread that's following through. Okay, let's see what happened. Okay. Isaac pleaded with God on behalf of his wife, for she was childless. God acceded to his entreaty, so Rebecca became pregnant. Okay. All right, let's go on.
Rabbi, can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, oh, hi, Margaret.
I don't know how to raise my hand on the thing.
You did
What I
exactly,
found interesting about this passage, it wasn't about the giving birth, it was about the description of who Rebecca was. I mean, they were not, I mean, talking about praying to God, these people worshiped idols, her background. And then it talks about Laban, and they were, I don't know, they were considered kind of that family, not really on the up and up.
I agree with them.
you agree with her?
I thought that when it said sister of Laban, you kind of get a foreshadowing of the kind of family she did come from,
Mm-hmm,
which had a lot of deception.
mm-hmm,
and
Mhm.
lies and not, and you know, so I thought that was a little foreshadowing there with sister of Laban.
Okay, very interesting. Let's see what happens. Thank you, Margaret. 22. The children pressed against each other inside her. She thought, if this is so, why do I exist? So she went to inquire of Adonai. Adonai said to her, two peoples are in your belly, two nations shall branch off from each other. As they emerge from your womb, one people shall prevail over the other, the elder shall serve the younger. I'm gonna leave it there. What stands out? Language should be, remember, language is important. What are you noticing? What stands out just first from the surface level of the text? Before we go beyond the shot, what are the things that stand out for us here?
They're
Tara?
already fighting.
Hmm?
The twins are already fighting inside of her. There's already strength and struggle. I remember when we did this portion of my introduction to Judaism class, Rabbi had said like when Esau was born, she came out first, Jacob was holding on.
Yes, don't get there yet. I want you to focus. I'm gonna force us to focus. Focus on this part right now because what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand the characters themselves bit by bit, right? So look here first. And what stands out for you, Marcia?
She didn't ask God for the babies, but once the babies were inside of her, then she reached out to God.
Okay, so let's start there first. The children are pressed up against her, right? It's not a really comfortable, pleasant experience, okay? She says, if this is so, why do I exist? What does that mean in plain English?
What's my?
Think Okay, but think
She
about,
didn't have children for so long.
she didn't have children for so long, she's finally pregnant. Just think, for those of you who've been pregnant before. Was there ever a moment in your pregnancy when you're like, oh my God, this is just miserable? If no one says yes, I wanna know you, okay? Even if you've even in struggle, right, even if it wasn't easy. And you're even almost afraid to say, oh my gosh, it's because you're just so grateful too, right? Like, is it the most comfortable 9 months of your life? Okay, for those of you who've never been pregnant and for the men in the room, not that pleasant, okay? So for some people, it's fabulous all the time, wonderful. For some of us, not so much, okay? Now with twins, okay, right? So I think here first is like, if this is so, why do I exist? The first thing could be just what it feels like, right? Like to carry twins, okay, you can imagine. The next thing is that the sages are gonna say that this is part of, that she had a very different relationship with God. All right, so for one commentary, they're gonna talk about how she has this prophetic tendency. That she is anticipating what she's feeling inside, she knows that this is what's gonna be. Okay, this idea of strife, of tension, of challenge and difficulty, that she has a prophetic anticipation of what their lives are gonna be like. And for her, what she's saying is, if this is so, why do I exist? If this is so, meaning that when I give birth to these two boys, if this is gonna be the concept that in the future, this is the foreshadow of a two people, two sons, two brothers, two nations. If this is what I was supposed to bring into this world, like, whoa, right? Like maybe this is not, right? Is this what's supposed to be?
It's not what I asked for.
It's not what I asked for, it's not what I hoped for, right? Okay. Then the next thing I think is so fascinating. She went to inquire of God. This is the first time we see this. She went to inquire of God. This to me is fascinating. Now, what we know of Rebecca is not a passive character. Right? Not even once, Margaret's like, yeah, we know. However, it's even before we get to the whole scenario and the chapter when the boys come into the world. Way back when Eliezer brings her and says, this is the right woman for our Isaac. The moment that Rebecca, who is sitting on the horse being carried or the donkey or whatever it is, sees Isaac in the field, the first thing she does is what?
She goes out.
But what does she do?
She slips on her.
But what does she do? She veils herself. That's why we wear a veil. There's a veil when you get married. Right? The reason why we do the bedecking and the checking is later on also, right? That's with Rachel and Leah. Right, no switching around, all right? We're trying to keep from that notion of deception. No, but the veil is out of modesty. Right? The moment she sees Isaac, she knows this is the man that I will have as my husband. And so she veils herself out of modesty. She has a way about her. There's an intrigue, there are interesting characteristics about her that stand out that the Torah is telling us, right? That we stop and we pause and we say, who is this woman? Who is she? Right? This also begins this interesting insight into the character of Rebecca. She inquires of God. Now, the interesting thing is, first her husband goes to plead on her behalf. Isaac pleads to God. Rebecca, though, knows, oh, wait a second. There is a system here. I'm going to go and inquire. I'm going to go figure out. I'm not going to go through my husband and ask him to find out why this is happening. I'm going right to the source. Very interesting. There's a chutzpah there. Okay. Yeah. Marilyn and then Maddie.
I'm just wondering, if she was even asked for Isaac to inquire from God, or pleaded to God. He may just have superseded her step to ask God herself.
Or he prayed for himself. Or he just goes to pray for, dear God, I hope that you can grant us a child, right? Allow my wife not to be barren, allow her the gift of a child, right? I don't know, the language can be interpreted in multiple ways, right? What I just find really interesting here, especially reading it from the lens of, you have a woman, a character in the Torah that's a woman, who goes and inquires and speaks to God. And what happens? God answers. It's really interesting language. Adonai said to her, okay, speaks directly to her and says, here's what's going on. 2 peoples are in your belly. 2 nations shall branch off from each other as they emerge from your womb. 1 people shall prevail over the other. The elder shall serve the younger. Now, this is important because when we jump 2 chapters in just a moment, I want us to keep this prophecy, premonition, whatever it is, this conversation between God and Rebecca at the forefront of our minds. Because remember, we have an inherent bias to the story. When I asked you all, what is the first word that comes to your mind about the story of Jacob and Esau? Everyone had a fairly similar reaction to the story. I want us to keep this moment and this episode in mind as we read the next one, okay? When the time came for her to give birth, lo and behold, she had twins in her belly. Right? The first came out reddish all over, as though covered with a hairy mantle. So they named him Esau, which means hairy. His brother following came out holding Esau's heel. So they called him Jacob, which means heel. Heel grabber. That's why his name is Jacob.
Wait a second,
What?
the next line,
What?
What?
Right, okay, stay with me, everybody, okay? Holding Esau's heel, they named him Yaakov. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born. Okay, so the Torah, this interesting times are happening together, right? It says Isaac went and pleaded on her behalf at 40, right? That's what it said. So in Torah language, what's happening here? It was not a direct, she didn't just get pregnant right away, right? Time is very interesting with this story. Because the next chapter is going to actually go back in time and then move forward in time. Okay, So time here is interesting. What most scholars would say is that there are multiple authors. There were multiple authors of this text and it was pieced together. Okay, because the chronology is funky here. Okay, it's a technical theological term. Okay, Isaac was 6 years old when they were born. When the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the outdoors. But Jacob was a homespun man, keeping to the tents. Isaac favored Esau because Esau put game in his mouth, but Rebekah favored Jacob. Okay, interesting language, right? Challenging, right? Favorites, like we're identifying favorites from the parents. That's a challenge, right? They have very different characteristics, the boy. One's a hunter, one hangs out at home, right? Very different boys, different characters, and it's the text is being very specific here. That one had the favor in one parent's eyes and the other had the favor in the other parent's eyes. This is a recipe for therapy. Okay, 29. One day, when Jacob was cooking a stew, Esau came in from hunting in the field. He was famished. He said to Jacob, I'm famished. Let me gulp down some of that red stuff, okay, that he was making. Jacob said, sell me your birthright here and now. And Esau said, here I am going to die. What good is the birthright to me? But Jacob said, confirm it to me by oath here and now. So he swore it to him, and he sold him his birthright to Jacob. Jacob then gave Esau bread and lentil stew. He ate, he drank, got up, and left. Thus, did Esau disdain his birthright. I'm gonna stop. That's where this part of the story ends. Because the next chapter is going to go back in time. And it's gonna be a story between Isaac and Rebekah going down as a result to a different land because of a famine. But here's where this story ends. Is this the end of the story? No. Okay, dun dun dun. What?
It's a pause.
It's a pause. It's a pause. Okay. So what do we know so far? Oh,
We know that.
I mean,
I mean,
you may.
okay, so to me, I wrote down, this is one of my first feelings, I felt bad for Esau. Jacob was obviously smarter and he stole his birthright and blessing twice. Cause I just said, I always felt like, oh, come on, cause I always felt like Jacob was the smarter one, you know, the more intense, maybe studying. And then here's Esau, cause I grew up in the South and I knew the Bubba boys, so Esau's kind of Bubba boy, he's hunting, he's got the deer hanging. And he's like, give me the food, boy, and he's like, oh, what will you do for it? It's kind of, so I always kind of feel bad for Esau.
Okay, no, that's fine. No judgment. You can align with whomever you want. It's totally cool for me. But what I want you to focus on is not to layer it with your language. Do we see an instance of stealing a birthright here? What do we see?
I see.
Look at the language. Okay, Aaron.
Compliance, actually. Esau was compliant to this request by Jacob. He went along with it.
Okay, let's look at the text, because I think it's really important in this part. Look here on 31. Jacob says to him, what specifically?
Tell me your birthright here.
Sell me your birthright. Jack, I see you. Go ahead.
You know, I see the story a little differently, that the birthright was basically given to the Behor, who was closest to the parents and closest to the.
You're muted. Hold on, you're muted, Jack. I don't hear you.
Is that okay?
Now I hear you. Yeah.
Jacob
No,
wants the birthright because it's a financial aspect. He's the one that makes the decisions for the family and moves on. Esau is a very plain guy, and I think he's been he's been made an evil person throughout the Torah, and I don't understand why his character stands out to me better than the deception that Jacob does and his mother all the time. Jacob, for example, when his mother says what she says about wearing, he's not worried about what he's doing is wrong. He's worried about getting caught. Esau, on the
Okay.
other hand, is not that kind of person.
Okay, good. So few good points there. One, I want to make it clear, that Esau it's absolutely accurate that Esau's character is turned into a negative, not necessarily through Torah though, through the commentaries and the midrashim and the rabbis. That's a really important piece of it. And yes, because the Torah doesn't necessarily turn him into any evil character or negative connotation, but the rabbis and the midrashim do. So that's a very important point, okay? Because they're making a distinction between the two. So I think that's really critical. The next thing I want us to focus on is just in the language that the Torah is presenting us here. What the rabbis would say is, number one, that Esau's character is about the moment, this moment in time.
Yeah.
I am hungry, I am starving, I want to eat. And he says, give me that food. And Jacob says, yeah, I'll give you that food, but what are you gonna give me? Your birthright? And Esau goes, I don't care about that, I'm starving right now, give me that food now, I'm starving. That Esau's character is about right now. That Jacob's character is future thinking. That his thought is, where do I want to be and what do I want to have in the future? And how can I use this moment to get what I want, knowing what I want in the future? That's from the rabbis, okay? That is one understanding of the two characters. That this is as simple as, I want what I want now, no problem. You have what I want, and Jacob, yeah, you have what I want, Esau. How are we both gonna get what we want? Okay, that's the first, from this episode, okay? Bobby, then Maddie.
I think where the rabbis get their disdain for Esau is that it says Esau disdained his birthright.
Good.
So there's a value in that, and the value is that he didn't value his birthright enough, and that's where they're getting their interpretation about him.
You're a Rashiite. I feel like I've said that about you before, right? Yes, that this line and this perspective on the birthright is exactly a line that the rabbis are going to attach to immediately to say, you know what? The birthright is more than just about wealth. The birthright was to be the one who will be who will maintain throughout the generations the faith, the partnership with God, the lineage, right? That it's not just about the wealth and the inheritance is one part, but that the birthright, that this is the one who will continue on with the chain of tradition and walking and continuing this Genesis covenant, for those of you who are also in the Tuesday class, right? This notion of being in relationship, right? That if Esau has disdain for the birthright, if Esau is just willing to sell the birthright for a bowl of lentils, then maybe he's not the one to inherit the birthright and otherwise, right? So it's definitely a verse that the rabbis are going to say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Esau is not the right guy. He's worried about right now in this moment, whereas Jacob is looking future thinking.
God told you about that.
I'm sorry, Maddie. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry, Maddie, go ahead. I forgot.
I find that there's two very distinct personalities. With Esau, he's a simpler man, a gentler man, a man that is much less intellectual. And the value doesn't have a value to him. Whereas his brother might be a little more cunning, maybe more power hungry, maybe more, like you say, far thinking, and sees it as more of a prize. So it's really a very big personality difference and an interest of one versus the other. That's how I see it.
Okay.
it turned out the way it was supposed to turn out. God told Rebecca from the get-go.
Oh.
The older one is gonna serve the younger one. So this is exactly the way it was supposed to be. So this is the way Esau is supposed to be. And so
That's a Torah scholar right there. We're focused on the language, right? That's important, right? This is an important piece of it, which we're gonna now see in Genesis 27. We're gonna build it out a little bit further, but that's the important piece is I want you to be following the thread. Okay? This is not a surprise.
it's not a surprise.
Right?
Because he said it was gonna happen.
God told Rebecca it was gonna happen. Now, God told Rebecca. I don't know who else God told. But Rebecca knows.
I wonder if Rebecca told her son.
Well,
And
we don't
that's
know
why
yet.
she maybe favored him and he was the way he was. Who knows?
Okay. Ooh, all good. Shall we move on? Right? Is everyone on the edge of their seats? What's gonna happen next?
Hello.
Oh, Jack, yep. Go ahead, Jack.
The question I have is, the statement, which is very terse, says, why Jacob loved Esau. It tells him why. He's a man's man. He does certain things that he does with his father. But Rebecca just favors Jacob. Doesn't say why. Could it be because God spoke to her saying what he said? And that
Yeah.
she didn't? Of course it is. But the point is, if this family dysfunction didn't exist, and she discussed this with Isaac ahead of time, all this wouldn't have happened, or much of it. There was a
Right.
lack of communication between her. Also, her personality shows up when Eliezer goes to her house, and he says he'd like to take her back, and Laban says, "Well, you have to ask her."
Right.
At this point in antiquity, women and children didn't have a choice on what they did, but Rebecca did.
Right.
It was
That's why
Rebecca's choice to leave. So
Exactly,
it shows what kind of strong person she really was.
Exactly right. That's why she's a fascinating, multifaceted. She's a fascinating and multifaceted character. That's given a lot of prominence in the Torah that we don't always necessarily spend that much time on. Okay, it's really interesting. Okay, here we go. This is 2 chapters later, by the way. Okay, just for context, I'm skipping ahead because I want to continue on with this episode. Still in this week's Parsha. Okay, here we go. Now we go back.
Okay.
You have it, the next page, 27. Genesis 27, it's on 142. When Isaac had grown old and his eyesight had dimmed, he called his elder son Esau, saying to him, "My son, here I am," he answered. "Look now," said he, "I have grown old, and for all I know, I may die any day. So pick up your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the countryside and hunt me some game. Then you can make me tasty dishes such as I like and bring them to me and I will eat, so that I can give you my heartfelt blessing before I die." Okay? We're all with each other? Okay. As Isaac was speaking to his son Esau, Rebekah was listening. And when Esau went to the countryside to hunt for some game and to bring him, Rebekah said this to her son Jacob. "Look, I heard your father speaking to your brother Esau, saying, 'Bring me game and make me tasty dishes that I may eat, and then bless you before Adonai before my death.' Now, son, listen to me, to what I am instructing you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 tender kids, and I will make them into tasty dishes for your father, such as he likes. You will bring them to your father, and he will eat, so that he may bless you before his death." But Jacob said to his mother Rebekah, "Look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I'm a smooth-skinned man. Should my father feel me, I will seem to him like a cheat, and I will bring a curse on myself and not a blessing." His mother then said to him, "Any curse that you get will be on me, son. Just listen to me and go get them for me." So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made tasty dishes such as his father liked. Rebekah now took the finest of her elder son Esau's garment that she had in the house and dressed up her younger son Jacob. The skins of the kids she wrapped on his hands and over the smooth part of his neck. And she put the tasty food and the bread that she had made into her son Jacob's hands. Going then to his father, he said, Father, and he replied, Hineni bani, here I am. Which son of mine are you? Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Pray, get up and sit and eat of my game so that you can give me your heartfelt blessing. Isaac then said to his son, How is it that you were able to find game so quickly, my son? And he replied, Your God made it happen for me. Pray, come near me. And Isaac said to Jacob, So that I can feel you, son. Are you really my son Esau, or are you not? Jacob approached his father Isaac, who felt him and said, The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. He did not recognize him, however, because his hands were hairy like the hands of his brother Esau, and as he was preparing to bless him, he said, Are you really my son Esau? I am, he answered. He said, Bring it near me, and I will eat of my son's game so that I can give you my heartfelt blessing. He brought it to him and he ate. He brought him wine and he drank. His father Isaac then said to him, Pray come near and kiss me, my son. As he came near and kissed him, Isaac smelled the scent of his clothes and blessed him, saying, I'm not going to do the blessing yet. Tell me what happened and connect all the stories. Track the story.
There's so,
Bobby,
there's so much in here. First of all, he
Right.
asks him 3 times.
what?
He asks him 3 times, so the number 3. And 3 times he lies. Jacob lies, and I mean Isaac lies. Wait a minute, I'm getting confused.
Jacob.
lies. So his father knows he's lying. I mean, he gave him 3 chances to tell him the truth, and he lied. So when he says, Bring it near me and I will eat of my son's game, he knows which son is which. And he partakes of the scent of his clothes. The clothes were the clothes the mother picked out for him. He knows that this is not Esau.
Okay.
And so it's like, it really gets me, really.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, it's meant to be, what's meant to be is meant to be, but it's duplicitous and it's not right.
Right, okay, good, Spencer.
This was all Rebecca's idea. I just wanna, she really wanted Jacob to be the son who inherited the blessing and the birthright.
She was.
And why? And why?
Because I told her to do this.
Okay, so I first wanna start there, okay, if we're tracking the lineage of the story. From the very beginning, remember, our implicit biases, okay, and all the things that we think of the story. If we're tracking it back, the initial moment is that Rebecca is told by God that this is what's going to happen. Okay? And then as we track the story and we get to this, we then have the interaction between the 2 boys. On their own, without their mother or their father's intervention. It happens first before we even get to this story, right? This whole interaction at the table, when Esau comes in and speaks directly to Jacob, and Jacob says, You want this stew? Give me your birthright. Whatever, I don't need that birthright, I despise it anyway. Here, right? Whatever, I'm starving. In that moment, that birthright is shifted. Whatever you want to call it, but it is transferred. There's an agreement between the brothers. Okay? There is an agreement between the brothers. Now, in this next episode, Rebecca overhears that Isaac is getting ready to bless his eldest son. which is the way that it's supposed to happen in ancient times, right? That firstborn son is the inheritor. All right? And she realizes, wait a second, something could go terribly wrong here. Against that initial prophecy that she receives from God. Okay, Jack, I saw your hand. Was your hand still up? Or is that from before?
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay. All right, yeah, Clarice.
I think it even starts even more at the beginning, when they said that the babies were pushing against her. I think that Rebecca knew, especially when they were born, that it was the bigger one that was pushing against her and the small one not. And so she felt as a mother that she should protect the younger son, because that it was, as a mother, that's what she would do. She wanted the younger son to be protected from the bigger son.
So I definitely hear what you're saying, but I want us to focus on the reason why this whole thing starts is before she even has the babies, she receives this message from God that says, this is what's going to happen. This is what's gonna happen. And Jacob grabs onto the heel of Esau in the womb. Yeah.
And so many thoughts.
Great, this is your time.
Okay, so the first thing is, do we not trust God enough that we have to interfere and make it
Oh.
happen? And
Okay.
two, do the ends justify the means?
Beautiful.
And what kind of a lesson is that?
Yes, yes to
So-
all those things. So let's just focus on your first question. Do we not trust God enough to not interfere? Fascinating question. I want everyone to take a moment and just think, I want everyone to think on that for a second. You can replace God with any relationship that you have, any moment, any time in your life. If you want to make, let's make this really, really individual and specific to our own lives. Are there moments in our lives where we don't trust the situation, the person, the premonition, the whatever, that we step in and we quote unquote interfere?
Yes, but God specifically said this was going to happen, and in my life, God doesn't specifically say things to me like that, so you feel like you have to help and interject. But if somebody said to me, I got this, and they're not God, I don't know.
Okay, but so
Did you get that? Or you're so, I'm confused, so I'm.
No. I'm not, I totally get what you're saying. What I think is really fascinating is I do think it's also it is a control issue too. It is a willingness to that there are moments in our lives and there are opportunities in our lives when we are willing to trust the process to see how it comes out. And there are moments in our lives where we just feel like we can't and we have to play a more active role in what we believe we are hoping to create the result that we want to see or that we know should happen, right? So it's 100%, you can look at this from multiple ways. You can look at it from a purely theological lens of I say I trust that the way that this is gonna happen is the way God wants it to happen. I'm gonna trust that it's gonna happen that way. There are moments when you could say, I'm unwilling to give up that level of control. And I feel like in order for it to happen, I need to intervene and I need to interfere in order to make sure that that happens. And it doesn't always end that way, by the way. But we're not willing to take that passive role. What's interesting here about Rebecca is that Rebecca makes it very clear. She doesn't like the way this is going. She is like, wait a second, this is what's supposed to happen. If he blesses Esau, it doesn't matter that that the birthright was transferred between two brothers over the kitchen table, right? That this birthright, if it is bestowed from Isaac onto Esau, blows this whole thing up. And then what?
But 3 stories ago, when Isaac was bound, the whole thing was he trusted in God so much, and that was the answer there.
Yeah,
And now that's not the answer here.
but isn't that, I find that even to be so profound. That if every story is that we trusted so much that we went willingly to the ends of the earth and knowing that God is gonna prevail in the end. That means that we only have one layered understanding of what it means to be in a relationship with God. It doesn't always work out that way. It doesn't always work out that way, right? And it also doesn't mean that this is the only other way. It's so layered. It is so layered here. That whatever, you can see it as Rebecca trying to intervene and make sure it's happening, but also Rebecca saying, wait a second, this is what God told me was gonna happen. Is it my responsibility to help make it happen? I don't know, maybe. Right? It could be that Rebecca's saying, oh, wait a second, God told this to me. God shared this with me. I'm now the responsible person that knows this information. Am I too, in relationship and in partnership with God, responsible for making sure that that is what happens? And that this other story that's about to happen is not the storyline that we follow. Right? Interesting.
I was just gonna say, I think along those lines of what you're saying, that God, I know when I have a problem, I pray for guidance.
Okay.
And I think God in his way is guiding, he's maneuvering this whole thing. And that Rebecca is, I used to be really upset with this part, with Rebecca and Jacob. And looking back at it, I'm not, this is the way it was meant to be, and I don't have a problem. No, this was the way it was meant to be, and I think God in his way is guiding Rebecca, and that's why she did what she did.
Okay, if you're not disturbed by some level of this, then we're not reading the text closely enough. Right? I'm not saying you, I'm saying you can have multiple. It should evoke some emotional reaction. The text should evoke something emotional from you. It's not an easy story to read. It's a highly problematic, multi-layered, highly dysfunctional family dynamic here. Okay, like this is why we have family systems there, right? Like it's coming right out of the text. Okay, we got triangulation all over the place here, right? We have people not talking to each other. We have people determining the way things should happen at the end, and they're not happening, so we're gonna step in and make sure it does happen. Maddie, Spencer, Jack.
Why couldn't Rebecca or the two brothers tell Isaac?
Oh, that's a great question. Wouldn't that have been a lovely question?
I mean, why does it have to be all, behind the scenes and deceptive and, why do they have to go to that level to say, this is what was decided? And that's one question. The second
Hold on,
question-
wait, I want you to stay with that question for a second, because I think it's really interesting. Who is the character that's missing? Or what is the conversation that's missing?
With Isaac,
But who with Isaac?
Rebecca.
Rebecca,
yeah.
Rebecca and Isaac. They talk about like poor communication, like talk about a need for couples therapy, right? Like they can't communicate. They can't communicate. Isaac pleads on her behalf. Rebecca goes straight to God. When do they intersect? It's really interesting when we think about what is the text saying and what is not being said in the text. What is the episode that's not happening is that there is no direct conversation between Isaac and Rebecca about what Rebecca learned from God.
Yeah.
What, right? Why did Rebecca not go to Isaac and say, hey, by the way, just giving you a heads up here, things are not going to go the way you think they're going to go. You know how we're going to have two sons, preparing you now. The older one who you think is going to be the inheritor of your blessing, God says, no, it goes to the one who grabs onto the heels. So I'm letting you know, you've got some time to wrestle with that and struggle with that and deal with that however you want. But just letting you know, Esau's not going to be the one with the blessing. It's going to be Jacob. Do what you need to do in order to get that straight in your mind. Right? Because that's what God wants.
But we wouldn't be studying here today.
But we wouldn't, the story would end so boring. It would be so boring. Right? No, but seriously, what is fascinating is that the Torah itself leaves out a really important relationship that we have no insight into. Now, you can create as many midrashim as you want to say Rebecca told Isaac, Isaac ignored Rebecca. You could say Isaac knew, they did have the conversation, Isaac knew. That's why Isaac stops him 3 times. Maybe Isaac's wondering, is Jacob gonna fess up and tell me? I know that it's Jacob. Is Isaac so dim and he's so advanced in years that his mind has gone that he's just gonna be fooled and tricked? Or is he the Isaac that knew that he was being walked to the Akedah and went along with it? Is it the Isaac that is well aware of this entire situation and Isaac is the one, the character sitting back to see, how are all my other family members gonna handle all this? Am I gonna be seen as the one who is just played? Or am I ultimately being the one that's the major player? Right? It's a very interesting way to see the text. Our initial bias is that Isaac is a passive player in the Torah. That everything happens to Isaac as opposed to Isaac being an active participant in his own life. That Isaac is led by his father, that Isaac is bound by his father, that Isaac is just someone where life happens to him. It's a very interesting perspective to say Isaac was in the know the whole time. And this interaction between Isaac and Jacob, even though Rebecca and the player that Rebecca dresses Jacob up, making sure that he looks like Esau, making sure that, this whole thing goes to plan. She's all part of she's the costume designer in the back, making sure that it's all right, even to the point of the smell. And Isaac is so well aware of what's happening to him and goes and makes sure by smelling him, by feeling him, by asking him, it's the voice of Jacob, but it's the hands of Esau, putting it all out there that I know what's going on here, people, but I am choosing to bestow the blessing on Jacob. It leads us there without saying it. To say that Isaac, in fact, is not being played by every other character in his family, but ultimately is making the choice himself to say, I know who receives this birthright. I know who's standing in front of me. Maddie. And then Jack.
This is the second part. Is it even transferable? Is it Esau's to give away? Because if God is the divine power, did he kind of maneuver this situation?
Who's the he?
God. Did God maneuver the situation so the characters fell in line to make this happen? Or was this an action based on the 2 brothers, this transaction?
Is it a situation of man plans and God laughs? Is that what you're asking me? Right? Like to some extent?
Yeah.
Okay. Why not? Could be. Jack?
If we look at the events of the first creation story and the second creation story, and if you believe Noah is the third creation story, God put humans on probably the first time to see if they have the ability to choose right from wrong. If we saw something wrong and we blame God for not interfering, if he interfered, then the concept of making choices don't exist. God would make all the choices. And therefore, the Holocaust being a main question that we have is, why did that happen? Why didn't God stop it? Well, we don't know yet. But it's the same thing. Choices were made unbeknownst to us as a Jewish people, but the choices were made to do away with this. Why didn't God stop it? Because God gave human beings the ability to make choices. And I guess God wants to see how it'll turn out.
Very interesting. Yep.
I feel a lot when I read this, probably because we've had similar situations in my family. Not in my immediate, but a long time ago. I almost read this like a civil complaint in a court case. These are the facts I'm laying out that happened. This is how I say it happened. this is where we deceived, this is where we had that moment, this is why I have the right to ask it to change. Obviously, it's not how it works then, but I almost read it like that. This is, laying out the facts, laying out where the deception was, where the thing that could be changed was. I read it like a civil complaint.
Okay, yeah, Marilyn.
I said before, the impression I had of this whole area of study is deception. And to go one step, if Isaac. Isaac knew it was Jacob and tested him 3 times. That's a deception also. That's a major deception. So how does that play with the 10 Commandments,
We don't have them yet.
Gotcha.
They were the 13 commandments.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the whole scene.
So you're in the Tuesday class, aren't you?
Yes.
Right, okay, so we're studying Daniel Hartman's book, and he makes an argument about in Genesis, the covenant is what? Just to be.
Right.
You are part of this people because you were born into it as part of the lineage. That we don't know or understand what it means to do until we get to Exodus. Until we get to the 10 Commandments, that our behavior, the behaviors of how we're supposed to engage with one another, ethical, moral, all those obligations of what it means to do and to act in a certain way is not given or granted to us until we get the commandments. Right, from Daniel's perspective, right, that's what he's arguing, that his challenge with the ancestors is so vast because these are not great people, is what he's saying. Remember, he said in the book, these are challenging people, they don't do great things. Right, because it's not part of the covenant yet. The covenant is be my people, follow me. Lech lecha, go forth, right? That's part of what we're exploring here and experience here, is they don't know what it means yet to do. They just know what it means to be. Right? So that's part of the interesting challenge. So the larger question of how does this relate to the 10 Commandments? Well, it doesn't yet. Right? They don't exist. They don't know what the behaviors are that they're supposed to be. From Rebecca's perspective, Rebecca is doing what she truly believes is the right thing to do because this is what God told her would happen. So she's going to make it every way possible to make this happen because this is what God told her was going to happen. Isaac, and what the rabbis are going to do too with Isaac is Isaac the one who's fooled? Or is Isaac the one playing? No, I'm saying, or is Isaac totally a part of this?
I think Isaac's a willing player, and I think he was a willing player when he was risking being sacrificed. I think all along he's known these are God's plans. I have a part of them, and I'm gonna trust God to do what's right.
Beautiful.
Giovanna, then Bobby, then Clarice. And then we have to wrap.
I agree with Marilyn and Spencer, that was a deception. So it led us to understand and believe that when God was warning Rebecca, he was actually saying to Rebecca, you are going to be a deception. He's not actually was telling Rebecca that this was going to be so. He was saying you're going to be violating my covenant, my seed. That's just one.
How you read, okay. Bobby, and then I'm,
Well,
and Clarice, and then I'm
at
wrapping
some
up.
point in the discussion, I was thinking, why did God have to set up 2 brothers to always be at ends with each other and fighting? And why throughout
The Torah?
the whole eternity? But brothers, nations, peoples are fighting with each other. And the reason, it's up to us to bring about the peace. We were created and then given the commandments and given the rules to bring about the peace, but it's a constant struggle with the brothers of the world and the peoples of the world to make the peace themselves, because God set it up that way. If the brothers came out loving each other, they'd still be in the Garden of Eden. There wouldn't be any choices to be made. So by creating brothers who didn't get along, it created the fact that we have to work to make those brothers get along.
Beautiful, amen. Alright,
I'm just thinking, and actually probably what Bobby said, this comes into it too, how much manipulation there was. I just, because I think sometimes when I am listening to the perspective of the story, I'm thinking, well, how did they think that far in advance and figure out what exactly was true and not true when, and again, before we had the Ten Commandments is probably the answer.
Beautiful. So here's what I want you to think about today. We'll be picking up next week with our next Torah portion, but what I want you to think about, in anticipation of this Shabbat is, what does it mean to receive a premonition? What does it mean to receive, a, that you're a forethought, like a foreshadow of what to be, right? Like, do you receive, it doesn't have to be divine. Like, there are moments in your time where you can sort of see, I'm seeing something that's gonna be, right? Is this what I want it to be? How am I gonna participate actively? Right? What does it mean to be an active participant in your life? And even when it's complicated and even when it's difficult, how do you intervene, not intervene? What does it mean to be actively engaged? What does it mean to be passively engaged? And what are those moments in your life where you come up, it doesn't need to be wrought with all these things. You don't have to have like hair on your arms and creating a costume of deception and manipulation. Just, what does it mean to be an active and or a passive participant in your own life? And there are moments when we're active, there are moments when we're passive. And there's a moment for us on this Shabbat to sort of stand back and to think about, what are the roles and the parts that we play in the narrative and the story of our own life?
Okay.
Shabbat shalom.
Question, are we meeting next week? Temple
No.
closed.
Then, if
Yeah.
temple's closed, then no, we're not meeting
Temple
next
is
week.
closed.
Then no, we are not meeting
There are
next Friday.
classes tomorrow night, I mean.
There are services, but there's no class during the day. Thank you, Amy. And so we'll make sure that that's articulated on the weekly.
Next week means next time.
No lunch and learn Tuesday and no class on Friday. You guys have a week off
But Friday night.
and to have wonderful, there's always services. Yeah.
No,
Okay, let's go party and celebrate turkey.
All right, thank you, online friends. We'll see you. Shabbat shalom. And tonight there's two services, 6 o'clock. Hold on, tonight there are two services, 6 o'clock. Tonight there are two services, 6 o'clock, Kol Neshama in the chapel.